On Easter Monday 1916, St Stephen's Green here would have been occupied by the Irish Citizen Army, and the majority of the 200 or so members of the Citizen Army who fought in the Easter Rising would have been involved in occupying the Green here. The Green covers a fairly large patch of ground in the southeast inner city, and perhaps 100 members of the Citizen Army, the numbers are unclear, came up here under the leadership of Michael Mallon, a former British Army veteran himself, who probably came from the humblest background of all of those executed in the aftermath of the Rising. They would have turned up here, began to drive out disgruntled citizens who were unimpressed at what was happening, and began to assemble barricades in and around the vicinity. Now, alongside Mallon, probably the most other prominent individual involved in the activities around the Green would have been Constance Markievicz, whose exact status is unclear. She apparently was wandering around in a uniform topped off with some kind of hat with an extremely ambitious or garish feather on top of it, a somewhat incongruous sight, but she would have been up here as well. Barricades would have been built or assembled in and around the area, but the Citizen Army came in for a good deal of hostility in what would have been a relatively wealthy and possibly quite, a district that would have been quite unionist in its politics. It would have had a slightly different complexion, you might say, to other parts of the city. Many observers commented on the youth of the members of the Citizen Army who were involved here, and there were a couple of contentious incidents and contentious killings. As the Citizen Army assembled barricades in the vicinity using whatever came to hand, they shot a man called Michael Cavan who was trying to retrieve his own cart from a barricade near the Shelbourne Hotel. A police constable called Lahiff was also shot as well. Again, it's interesting that the two members of the Dublin Metropolitan Police killed on the first day of the Easter Rising were killed by the Irish Citizen Army. It's suggested that Markievicz may have shot him, but it's unclear if she did or if some of her colleagues did instead. And an 8-year-old girl would have been shot and wounded outside the Unitarian Church just on the western side of the Green. In regards to what was happening within the Green, Mallon ordered his men, and women after all, to begin digging trenches. Now, we're not entirely sure where the trenches were located. Most likely locations would be in and around the 4 gates of the Green, and also across from Dawson Street. These trenches, however, did prove to be their downfall, because as the area was reinforced with British troops later on that day, troops had come down from Dublin Castle. Some troops took positions in the United Service Club on the northern side of the Green, and also crucially in the Shelbourne Hotel, which provided a vantage point overlooking the Green and overlooking Mallon's trenches. Now, at about 4 a.m. on Tuesday morning, after a rather wet night, British troops began to attack the Green, and by 8 a.m. Mallon and his colleagues had abandoned it. They'd made their way to the western side of the Green, exited by the statue of Lord Ardilaun just behind me, and took refuge in the Royal College of Surgeons, where they remained for the rest of the week. Now, the battle scars of 1916 can be seen on a number of buildings. On the facade of the Royal College of Surgeons, also perhaps ironically on Fusiliers Arch, and this would have been gunfire coming from the British positions on the northern side of the Green. When they occupied the Royal College of Surgeons, afterwards Mallon and his colleagues didn't really see much action for the remainder of the week. As was the case in other parts of the city, they would have come in for would have attracted a good deal of hostility from Dublin citizens. Again, the families of ex-servicemen probably were a factor here. Mallon himself would have tried to exhibit a degree of discipline over his men, perhaps as a military veteran himself. He severely reprimanded a member of the Citizen Army who tried to destroy a painting of Queen Victoria with the intention of making puttees out of the canvas, and this young man was severely reprimanded. But Mallon and his men and his colleagues, those under his command, remained in the College of Surgeons for the remainder of the week until Sunday. After the heavy fighting that had driven them out of the Green, the Citizen Army in this area did not see that much fighting. The British forces in Dublin devoted their attention elsewhere in the city.